we are back to another installment of Movies Down Memory Lane, the show where three friends get together and talk about the films that mean the most to them. I'm Stephen Billings. With me, as always, are my two friends, Andrew Cabral and Dan Skip Allen. What's up, guys?
Yeah, nothing much, man. Just award season and sports and all kinds of stuff going on right now. A lot of stuff going on in my life, man. But I'm happy to be here to talk about Andrew's pick.
Yeah,
50,
yes,
50,
indeed.
50,
I'm
50.
doing well. Yeah, the week went by way too fast to the point where I'm glad I watched this a couple of days ago, or rewatched it rather. But yeah, so my pick. I don't know if you need any more other.
Oh, nobody wants to ask me how I'm doing? Okay, cool.
How are you doing,
how
Steven?
are
How are you
you?
doing? How's it going?
Oh, okay. See, I'm the good friend in the group, and then everybody else is like, oh, whatever, Steven, he just hosts the show. He just,
Yeah, that's true.
Get him out of here.
That's
We
No.
know
true.
you're doing good. We know you're fine. We know.
No,
what you
this was the hardest to get down here on time tonight. If you noticed, you were here before I was, which is
Yes.
weird. So I was like, usually I put the little girl to bed about 8:30, and she's usually in the bed by like 8:40. And I got like 20 minutes. I can make my coffee. I can come downstairs. Didn't get to make a coffee because she spent from about 8:40 to about 8:50 trying to take a shit. Okay. Just sitting on the toilet, trying to take a poop, just running the clock out. And I'm like, girl, I have to go. Let's get into bed.
Well, you can't,
So-
Steven, you can't rush the process sometimes.
I know. I didn't want to. And the thing is she's learning, she's potty training, and she's
Mm.
doing so well. She's peeing and pooping on the toilet, and she's asking us when she needs to, and she's doing all the right things. So then in this moment, I'm conflicted because I don't want to rush her, but I also I gotta go. so yeah. This was the closest to getting down here last minute. I was like, I might be late tonight. The show might start late, but it didn't. We got it here on time, so thank God.
Oh,
But other than that, I'm all right. I'm doing okay.
okay.
But
Bit of a photo finish.
I am ready to talk about your pick this week.
Yes.
Introduce
Yes,
it,
indeed.
please.
All right, so my pick this week, as we've been rotating, it's interesting because this actually rather pairs up nicely with what the movie we talked about last time, which was Steven's pick, which was Perks of Being a Wallflower. Ironically, that movie came out a year after this one, so we're moving 1 year back in time to the movie 50-50, starring Joseph Gordon Lovett and Seth Rogen. Bryce Dallas Howard's in the film as well. Anna Kendrick is in the film as well. Angelica Houston is in the film too. And this was right around the time where Joseph Gordon Lovett was on the rise as a star, or becoming
which is weird because I think he's been people have been aware of him since the 90s.
Yeah, well,
Rock
he was a child actor in Third Rock from the Sun. He was in 10 Things I Hate About You. Not 10 Things I Hate About You. No. What's the movie?
10 Things I Hate About You. Yeah.
He was
he's the younger friend that befriends Heath Ledger, Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. For some reason I was thinking of something else completely. But yeah, he was in that movie, which has a star-studded cast of young actors.
Yeah.
Some went on to be more prominent than others. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, obviously, Heath Ledger. But either way, but it's just like this movie is in the midst of a run of movies for Joseph Gordon-Levitt where he was just on kind of another level of like stardom, if you will.
Yeah.
Like right before this, he was in Inception, then he was in 50-50, then he would be in Dark Knight Rises, then he would direct his own movie in Don John. And then after, I think around the same time, he would be in Looper too, which was the
Looper.
Rian Johnson film, re-teaming with Rian Johnson because he was in Brick in the, what was it, mid-2000s, early 2000s?
Yeah.
But this movie is this little kind of indie movie stuck in there amongst all these other bigger, more tentpole-y type of movies.
And I will say this, I think, and I don't know this for sure, and I haven't listened to a bunch of interviews with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but I get the impression he likes the indie world. I think if he wanted to be a bigger star, he could have stayed a bigger star, but he chooses to stay in the indie realm because that's where he likes it, and he's got a lot of personal things that are in tune with that world. That, it's all about having that creative freedom. I think he just likes that world.
Yeah, because it's very interesting how I'm kind of was going to segue into that idea of over the last several years, he hasn't really been in anything prominent in about a decade, maybe. He's been in work, like he's been working. Like
he was in like The Walk. He was in The Walk.
Yeah, he was in The Walk, which was Robert Zemeckis' film from 2015. He was in The Night Before, reteaming with Jonathan Levine, the director of this film. He was in Snowden, which is an Oliver Stone film.
Yeah.
And then after that, he is not in a lot of things that would people would like kind of know him, recognize him in.
I like him in the Lookout. I don't know when The Lookout was, but I love
that was early. I love that movie, but that's early. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that was like 07 or 06, something like that.
Yeah.
But if you just look at over the I remember then he also tried to launch like his own YouTube channel and stuff like that. His little indie projects, Hit Record, wasn't that his thing?
Yeah. He had a whole like indie, like do it yourself, like kind of like make your own movies kind of thing.
And then he was also doing like little music projects too, right? Because I remember him like teaming up with Zooey Deschanel and they were like singing and stuff because she is a recording artist. But anywho, going back to 50-50, this movie, which is my favorite movie of 2011, this movie came out, I think, in September of 2011. And I saw it at the time. I've had this Blu-ray ever since then. And this is a movie that is deeply personal to me because of its subject matter. So for those of you who haven't seen this movie, gonna spoil it a little bit, I guess.
No.
This is So this movie is you basically have Joseph Gordon Levitt's character, who's just kind of regular guy, if you will. They don't really get into too much of his character. He's kind of this regular guy. He's got a job. He's got a best friend in Seth Rogen. He's got a girlfriend in Bryce Dallas Howard, who I forgot to mention as well. What a cast! And he just one day he goes to the doctor because he's feeling these back pains, and he doesn't know what it may be. Turns out he's got a tumor on his spinal cord, actually, and he's got cancer, just kind of out of the blue, out of nowhere. And that's established very early on in this movie. And this movie is primarily dealing with him having to deal with that life-altering event, having to not only go to the chemo treatments and all that stuff, but dealing with the people around him in his girlfriend Bryce Dallas Howard, with his best friend, with his overbearing mother in Angelica Houston, and his father who actually has dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And that's a small little role in the movie that was very, very good. But it's just him having to deal with those very real life consequences or real life event, and going to see a therapist and Anna Kendrick. And they have a little relationship going on, but it's all about like human relationships and human dealings with this, life-altering event. And it's very kind of, I say life-altering, but it's way more commonplace than I think people realize. I think, traumatic, life-altering health issues happen to people all of the time. And I don't think a lot of people are really aware of the mental toll that it takes on people, and how it not only affects you, but the people around you and your life, and how it stays with you, and the things and the impact that it has. And I think this movie really hits it on the head. I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt captured that very, very well in this movie. There are also sequences when he's dealing with other people who are dealing with cancer, older people, which is very interesting to me, because I think when people think of cancer, they think of it's an older person's disease, because people who are elderly tend to get it a lot, but there's a lot of children who get it. There's a lot of young adults who get it, and all of this kind of stuff. So this movie really runs the gamut in terms of dealing with that at various stages of life. There's great moments in the movie with him dealing with the older patients and them having this camaraderie and this bond through this tragic times. And the movie is so genuine and so real for that. This movie has stuck with me since 2011. Like I said, my favorite of that year, and even rewatching it, I still feel like it's got the evergreen themes of all of those things, because illnesses and things like that are, like I said, commonplace. They happen very frequently. What's your guys' relationship with this movie?
Well, first I want to ask you a question.
Dan got the questions.
Is there something relatable in this movie to you personally?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Or you personally as a person? Is there something about this character that's relatable to you?
I've talked about it a few times here on Chasing Labels over the years. I had cancer when I was very little. So I remember distinctly it's different when you're a child and you more kind of grapple with the things that Joseph Gordon Levitt's grappling with in this movie and when you become an adult after the fact. But I remember like distinct stuff, the hospital visits, the chemo visits, the effects of those things, the trauma of it all, of having to deal with all of that. This movie gets that very, very much. I still see a cancer doctor on the regular. I still see one every 6 months or so. So like I'm still around that element all of the time and throughout my entire life. So I've seen the progression of cancer treatments over the years, having seen a cancer doctor since I was the age of 3 to the age of now 38. So 35 years. I've been seeing doctor on a regular basis. So, all of those elements in this movie, I can see how accurate they are. And what is interesting that you bring that up is that the person who wrote the script, Will Reiser, and who was a friend of Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, I think they had worked together on the Ali G show, because there's a great interview on the Blu-ray of it. This movie is kind of subsequently kind of based on his life because he had cancer. So the movie is not only about his life, but about people that he knew dealing with cancer. So it's a very real film from different perspectives, including the people watching, like myself.
Yeah. Let me tell you. I mean, I thought, up until this point, and this is the weirdest thing. I'll tell you this right now. Up until this point, I didn't know anybody that had cancer. My dad basically died of various, but he was 87 years old. Cancer, old, whatever. I mean, you're not gonna live that long. When you're that 87, you don't got much life. He kind of had a couple bouts of cancer, like around that year, 86, 87, in that time. So he got over it one time, and he got it again, and then he just couldn't get over it. But he was 87, so I just kind of chalked that up as old age, But I'm dealing with a friend of mine, and his niece they just found out she's 21 years old, and she's got cancer right above certain areas for women, and it's not good. It's not good at all. And it's like, it really kind of like, wow, of all the movies for us to talk about right now, that's like, wow, holy crap, that happening right now. My buddies, he's like a family. I'm like a family member to their family. I've been, I've known them for 33 years and stuff. So I'm kind of like a family. I'm actually in their house right now, while they're up visiting the sister and seeing the niece that's in the hospital right now and up in Washington, D.C. So it's kind of prophetic that we're talking about this movie right now. But as far as the movie goes, I really love the Seth Rogen character. I thought he was the conscience of the movie. You really felt what he was saying, what he was doing was the conscience of the movie, the characters, the audience. Because the Bryce Dallas Howard character, Bitch. I could not stand her. She was terrible. And maybe that's what the guy wrote in the script. It was something that he was going through. Probably, most likely. But yeah, because recently I saw Seth Rogen in something that I didn't like him in, right? And then I loved him in the studio this summer. But then revisiting this, I'm like, this is Seth Rogen that I like. He's smart. He's witty. He's got good dialogue. He's got good quips and stuff like that. I saw him in Good Fortune or whatever it was, and I didn't laugh at all. I didn't care about him at all, And then I saw him in the studio, and he was brilliant, So Seth Rogen can be hit and miss, but I really enjoyed him. And that's the kind of friend you need when you're going through something like this. When you're going through a struggle or a health issue like this, you need a good friend who cares about you, not some freaking stuck-up woman who just was trying to use you for something or other, whatever. So that's my 2 cents on the movie. I know, Steven, you haven't had a chance to talk about this, so it's your turn now.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Yeah, I like this movie as well. Rewatching it again for the first time, probably in a handful of years. I like you said, it's the film that really focuses on more movies that deal with illness or cancer. A lot of times it's about that disease and how disruptive it is, but it's like this really is more about how that disease affects others. I think because he's the center of it. We see him go through things, but we're not really focusing on his pain, his physical pain, as much as we're looking at emotional pain and emotional pain amongst everybody. And even the bitch that you don't like, she was probably already cheating on him before knowing that he had cancer. So she was already a bitch before that. It wasn't just that, she didn't want to, obviously she didn't want, she felt like she was stuck. And then, continued to do the bad behavior she was already doing and then got caught and then it made her look even worse. But, on top of that, like, even her, you got to have a little bit of empathy for her. Like, it's like,
what's interesting is rewatching the movie now in hindsight.
Yeah.
I hate her less than when I saw it.
Exactly.
So long ago.
It's because Seth Rogen's there. He's the friend and he tries to make her look really bad. And he does. And yeah, she did. Nobody cheating on anybody in any scenario is a good thing. But her sticking around, and even after getting kicked out and moved away, she still comes back and tries again. She didn't have to do that. So I think there's like a part of her that cares.
Yeah, she had ulterior motives.
On a human level, yeah. And I also feel like, I think she's actually kind of an important character in hindsight.
Sure, yeah.
Because not everybody in your life can handle everything. You know what I mean? Like there's certain people who can handle things better than others, and certain people can't handle things at all. And I feel like she represents this idea that, people who can't handle, the emotional weight of being with someone in a relationship with someone who is potentially dying. You know what I mean? Like that weight is pretty heavy to deal with, and she can't deal with it.
And even on a more basic level, like sometimes people are in relationships with people because of its convenience, or it's like they like the easiness of it. But once it becomes difficult, they don't want to fight for it anymore.
Right.
Exactly. So there's also that in it too. And, that's not, unless there was an intention to get married, which she kind of makes it feel like that their relationship's deeper than just a fling. They're living together.
They live together.
That's a pretty big
step.
Yeah. So
even when she was cheating, she would go back to his house, sleep in the same bed with him.
Yeah, so she's not a good person, but when it comes to the scenario, I do have a little bit of empathy for her trying to stick it out, and then even getting kicked out, she still kind of comes back and is like, "Look, I want to help you." I even though you don't really believe her, like she didn't have to come back.
You feel like she's probably doing it out of more
how people see her than it is about helping him.
Yeah, I would say maybe she's doing it more so out of guilt and feeling like hating herself more so than her wanting to help Joseph Gordon Levitt's character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like trying to save face in terms of
she wants to go out on her own terms.
I feel awful for doing this to you in this moment because of what you're going through.
Yeah.
So let me try to fix this. You know what I mean?
So she's not. We get it. I'm with Dan. Yeah. She is a bitch, but I don't think it's.
But there's more there than just that.
I think it's a little more complex than.
It's a little more complex.
I make the complex characters the mother. Because he's distanced with his mother, and his mother wants to be somebody who cares for him, helps him, wants to be in his life, but yet he doesn't want it. He ends up with the mother at a doctor's appointment because he didn't have anybody else that his buddy wouldn't answer the phone or whatever it was. And it's just like, it's like annoying to him just being around, but the mother genuinely cared. That's the character to me.
Well,
yeah.
Well, no, I think I agree with your first statement that the Seth Rogen character is the most interesting character. The mom character, she's just doing what she always has done, which is essentially helicopter parented him into not wanting to be around her as much when he got older. And then when he needs her, he's standoffish because he doesn't want to be babied. He doesn't want to have to feel this stuff because his mom makes him have to feel it all, and he's trying to keep it at a distance. All this negative stuff, all this I might die thing, and keep it at a distance so you don't have to feel it.
What's interesting, you mentioned that my mother is very similar to the Angelica Houston mother in this movie. My mother's kind of a combination of Angelica Houston in this film and Frances McDormand in Almost Famous. Like it's very, very much.
No wonder why you like those movies and not so much.
So
no wonder why. Yeah, we're getting down to it.
Yeah, and I understand Joseph Gordon-Levitt's perspective in that regard. Like, yes, he would want some type of supportive parental figure to be there, but he also knows his mother, and he knows that if he lets her do anything, she's going to probably take it to the extreme. You know what I mean?
Like full control of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like mother him, and
she's also looking after the father. The thing is, she's also looking after the father who's got Alzheimer's.
I was going to say there's probably a part of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character too that has like a sympathy for his mother that already has to deal with his father.
Right.
It's he's also looking out for her too.
Yeah. And there is that moment where Anna Kendrick's character basically, where he's trying to kind of explain his relationship with his mother, and Anna Kendrick's character kind of puts into perspective for him. We're saying like, she has a husband that she can't talk to, and then a son that won't talk to her. So you've got to, you're being kind of unempathetic to what she's going through. And what's great about this movie is slowly over time, as you kind of see the revelations of like what the other characters are going through. And it's subtle, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like what I just said with that scene with Anna Kendrick's character as the therapist, and then later on when he brings Seth Rogen's character home, and when he's like drunk or whatever, and he sees like he sees the book in the bathroom, right? It's like it's the self-help.
That's the revelation scene that he's not just taking
how to be
advantage
a friend to someone who's like dying, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not just taking advantage of his friend's situation to get in with girls and stuff, even though that's what he does it a lot. But I think it's obviously a way of making him feel like, because that's something they would have done anyway.
I feel like it's a coping mechanism for the Seth Rogen character.
Well, it is, but I think it's also like they were already friends and they would be behaving in similar ways already. So he's trying to play like nothing's wrong. He's trying to treat him like they're still just hanging out and they're doing shit that they would do anyway.
And that is something, that's something that's very, very real when you're dealing with very, unreal circumstances. You know what I mean? You try to get back to reality as much as you can.
He's the opposite of the mom. He's trying to help him ignore it by making sure, acting like it isn't happening. And his mom really wants to, be involved and remind him all the time that it's happening by being involved.
Overall, though, I think, a lot of these characters are really well written.
Yeah.
I mean, the script is so good. Levine really writes, or whoever the learner or whatever writes the screenplay and writes real people. It's hard for screenwriters and directors to get real performances and get character script that's giving people real stuff and real ways to act. And I thought that all of these characters were realistic.
Well, I think that's why he got the cast he got. It's because I think that the screenplay had good, well-rounded characters.
Yeah, and he kind of hit all these actors really at the perfect moment.
Yeah,
to make an indie movie like this on this level, because it's a very small scope type of movie. It's very intimate with just scenes of people talking, very dialogue heavy based, and it's just all character stuff like we've been saying. And this was before, like I said, in the midst of Joseph Gordon-Levitt becoming a bigger star. Bryce Dallas Howard would, of course, become a bigger star later with like the Jurassic World movies and stuff like that. Seth Rogen, of course, his career was on the rise, but he's much bigger now than before then. But yeah, it's very interesting kind of cross-cutting of all these actors at that specific time. Even Anna Kendrick would, of course, this was before the Pitch Perfect movies. I always thought it was odd that in this movie she's playing like a young therapist. Granted, he's like her third patient, but then like Pitch Perfect would come out after this and she would be like a freshman in college. It made no sense to me how they casted these things.
This was a weird casting, but I think if there's a character that's actually sit-in for everybody, I think it's actually her.
Yeah, I would say
more so than Seth Rogen, because she's more like an objective outside person, and everybody is weird around people that have illnesses. She's trying throughout the movie. She's trying to find ways to make them feel comfortable, but she doesn't know how to do it. And that's how normal people are. I think when it comes to this kind of thing, they get awkward about it. She's awkward because she's, like you said, her first few patients, she's touching him. She's like, should I do that?
She's got these certain mannerisms where she's got the what is it called, like the flipper or whatever it is, like like a flipper, where it's like every time she's trying to comfort people, she puts the flippers on him, and she's trying to like it's tough when you're going through therapy with something like this. This is going to be difficult to say. When you've had cancer, or when you're going through cancer, or if you're a cancer survivor, it's really hard to talk with people who haven't experienced it. You know what I mean? It's really hard to talk with people who haven't experienced this level of medical and health issues and chronic health issues, all this stuff, because you can't really explain to them definitively what you're going through without them having some type of basis of relatability. So those scenes are also very, very real too. With trying to explain to people how you're feeling about your cancer, or what you're feeling about cancer or your health issues or your life in general, especially with like what he's going through is very like depressive and traumatic. And we see kind of how it erodes his physical and mental health throughout the movie. So those scenes I thought were very real, just from my perspective. Like, just that awkwardness is there because you can't relate to each other on a real serious level.
I mean, I think if you're talking about scenes, I mean, obviously that scene where he screams it out in the car is like the kind of the big spot, that was
I always thought that was the most relatable scene.
It's the scene I always remember about the movie. It's the
scene I've thought about for like 14 years over and over again.
Yeah,
because
what I like though is the guys that were doing the chemotherapy.
Philip Baker Hall,
and then Max Headroom.
Yeah, Matt Fuhrer.
Max Headroom. That stuff was funny. Those guys.
That stuff's very real.
That's the most. Them are the people that, like you said, them are the people that are actually going through it. Yeah. And so he can actually have a real.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
you can talk to them, but it was like funny how they were like sloughing it off, like, hey, yeah, we're all dying here, da da da.
Taking weed gummies,
weed brownies, and cookies. Yeah, stuff like that. And they were kind of like, they took them under their wing in a way, It's like, hey, dude, we're all here in the same boat, whatever.
Yeah.
So we're
That's
all
very, very real.
And then when the one guy wasn't there anymore, then it really got real,
Yeah. Yeah, and like there's an unspoken bond, unspoken camaraderie amongst us. There really, really is. Like, you just know, like you just get it. You know what I mean? Like, there's just such a it's tough to explain, but you just kind of understand it. Those scenes were very, very real, where they're hanging around like drinking like the wheatgrass like stuff or whatever. And they're just talking about like, hey, how did your chemotherapy go today? You know what I mean? Like did they give you the good stuff today? You start making stupid jokes like that, like, oh, they hooked you up well today. And what is interesting is, that's the way cancer suites are typically set up. They put you in the most comfortable positions typically. Granted, when I went through it, this was the early 90s, so it's a little bit different now. Nowadays, everybody probably has an iPad. Everybody probably has some type of device to watch things on. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, everybody would get like portable DVD players and stuff like that. But back in the early 90s, when I went through my treatment back in 1992, 1993, there weren't any of those devices. So basically everybody, I think we were all crowded, kind of not crowded, but we were all sitting in the big comfy chairs, and someone would select a movie, VHS tapes, to put into the one TV that was in the room. Yes. That's how I actually watched Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2 for the first time.
Oh man,
those were the movies that I watched.
Hell yeah.
That's because I remember the VHS tape of like Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2, because it was around that time. Because Wayne's World came out in 91, and the other one came out 93 ish. So it was around that time. but that's kind of how it rolled back then. This was 30 years ago. Nowadays, everybody, like I said, has got their own setup and whatnot, and you just sit there and kind of, take the medication, and you're there for a while. You're there for a while. Radiation treatments are different. Radiation treatments when I was a kid reminded me. Later on, there's the scene in Terry Gilliam's Brazil where he's like in this large room. He hooked up to like this metal bench. That's what radiation treatments reminded me of. Chemo, completely different. That's just a bunch of drugs they inject into you. But yeah, this movie definitely depicted those scenes very, very well. And I always thought Philip Baker Hall was like one of our best character actors for like decades. Like he was so good in so many different movies. He of course was in a couple of Paul Thomas Anderson movies.
Show, Magnolia.
Yeah, he's in Hard Eight.
Oh God, he's great.
I think he's the star of Hard Eight. It's him and young John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
But he really carries that movie. Yeah, he was always a really, really good actor. And yeah, so like I said, this movie has hit me, pretty hard for years. It's still very, very true. There's a lot of comedy in the movie too. Darker kind of comedy, but still a lot of comedy.
Yeah. Now I laughed sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's the scene. I mean, it's on the poster when he's shaving his head, and they have the whole joke of like, "Hey, what do you use these clippers for? Because you have a full head of hair."
Yeah, well, I think
hair at the time too, huh?
Yeah, and we know this. It's comedy and drama just works great together in film because you need both. I mean, you can't. I say this a lot. Like, you can't have any sunny days without any rainy days. Like, you got to have, that contrast to really get the highs and lows to kind of, would say manipulate the audience. I think that's just life. In life, people spend a lot of time trying to, as we said, like, shield themselves, like, to forget some of the negative things that are going. We do our best to laugh, and that's everybody. I think that's a lot of us. Some of us, unfortunately, get depressive and they stay in a state that's where you don't want to be. But I think a lot of us, we spend trying to be as happy as we can, even when things are not all great. And you need that in a movie too. I think it works really great in a movie, and them are some of my favorite movies.
Yeah, and the concept of dramedy, I think, is something that's cropped up over the last like 10 to 20 years, like definitively within movie culture and stuff, as a subgenre. And you have to balance it quite well. And I think this movie does balance it quite well. I think a lot of that has to do with Seth Rogen has very good comedic timing.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a jovial sense of friendship. Being both kind of incredibly attentive, but also being funny at the same time. It's tough, like kind of what Dan was saying. It's tough to find a friend to go through this with you and to be there. And he's very much there for like the whole time. Like which is really interesting.
Well, I think when you brought up the whole book thing, you discover the book he had been reading the whole time. I think as an audience, I think they do such a great job in the movie of really that being a real big prize. Because we liked him more than we liked anybody. He was obviously the good friend, but we didn't understand how good of a friend he was. Like, he was there, he was supporting him, he was on his side,
driving him places.
He was obviously there for him. And but then you had that whole thing where he was like getting girls to cut, so you were like, well, it feels like he's taking advantage of it.
He's taking advantage. What is interesting, there's the great scene when they're in the club and he's like, hey, just drop it into conversation that you have cancer, right? See if it works. And then he does it and he's like, yeah, no, that was totally awkward. Don't go with that.
So he's trying to make him comfortable by playing into it, but the audience thinks that he's more taking advantage of it than he really is. He's really just trying to make his friend comfortable. And then when we see the book, we really know that he really has taken this seriously, because
there's also the great scene where there's they're smoking weed together and he's like, yeah, I got a prescription because I have glaucoma or something like that.
Yeah. No, I love the scene right before that scene after they had brought them girls over and they had brought them over, had sex, and he comes out and he's like, I fucked her. Yeah,
that's a great subtle thing. I first saw that, I burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Because it's such a friend bonding.
Yeah, exactly. That's stuff you say.
That's because we have to also keep in mind that at this point where we're watching the movie, these are like, because these guys are like what, like in their 20s at this point?
Mid to late 20s, yeah.
Maybe
He's
mid to late
he's 27. Joseph
Yeah,
Gordon
Yeah.
Levitt's
27, yeah.
So there, yet again, it kind of goes to the fact that, I was talking about before, there aren't a lot of movies that are really dealing with serious issues for people in their 20s. We mostly get like college age, like, sophomoric humor type of movies where everybody's in college and partying and having a good time. But then there's kind of like the after college younger adulthood where like you kind of have to figure out what you're doing in your life, and you've got to kind of figure out certain things, make certain life goals and changes and career
And they're
paths and all
working
that
in a
kind of
weird
stuff.
industry, radio, which at that time was still going good, but now it's kind of dying.
Yeah.
The radio. I mean, who's working in radio anymore?
Don't know a lot.
Just local, like the local places, like you still get a lot.
Well, they're even doing it from home now. Like they're doing radio from their laptop, like we are.
Some are.
Yeah, and I other than local radio, of course, Sirius XM radio is still a thing where you can get channels from everywhere. But even then, there are people mostly listening to like podcasts and shows and stuff like that. And if it's music, it's usually a station that's specifically some type of genre, 90s.
But there'll be like one guy in the studio in the morning, or they'd have like a talk show in the morning. Then the rest of the day, everybody's doing radio from home.
Yeah,
or
podcasting really and internet radio really took over, that scene.
Yeah.
In the
that was kind of weird.
Really.
That was kind of weird that these guys are like working in radio. There's a whole office and they're doing like think pieces and on a volcano and this. And that. Like, wow, what kind of radio does this?
What is also interesting is like
a different place than most.
The movie's also, like I said, kind of a bit of a time capsule because like the cell phones they're still using a flip phone. When Seth Rogen catches Bryce Dallas Howard at that art exhibit thing, he takes a picture with his flip phone. It's like the worst quality you've ever seen, and I'm like, this was 14 years ago, and our cell phone technology is light years ahead of this. It's absolutely light years ahead of this.
I think the movie actually, even though it took place 14 years ago, the movie, I think it might even be the story might have been years prior.
It might have been earlier. It feels like more mid 2000s.
Yeah, earlier than that.
So it may have been set around the time, because I did go back and look up some stuff like when was Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg writing for the Ali G show? Sacha Baron Cohen show that was on HBO, and that was like 2004. So that's why it feels like set around that mid 2000s timeline.
And Seattle's like a time capsule in itself. It's a weird place, more different than a lot of different other places. Seattle is kind of the birthplace of a lot of different things that we all take for granted today, but something I thought that was strange though. I would have liked to have known the time a little bit, like the passing of time. What did you think? Do you think that like they kind of played with the passing of time a little bit, where you don't really know how long some of this stuff is taking? Like he's walking around at the end and stuff, and he's like up and about in his bed, various things. I was like, wait a minute, how long is this? I mean, when is this? How fast is this going? Like he has a surgery, yet he's moving around and he's talking in his bed. Like, really, you're going to go through that kind of surgery and that kind of stuff, and you're going to be sitting in your bed talking like it's nobody's business, or are you going to be walking around with the help of your girlfriend later on or something? I don't know. I thought the passage of time was a little bit wonky in this. What did you think about that? Did that ever come up in your mind?
No, not really. Not really. I kind of was so enraptured by the characters and the story that I kind of just didn't really wrap up how long it would take. I think the movie does a good enough job of kind of hinting at like this takes place over a series of months, I assume, because he's going. It also depends on. They don't really get in. Yet again, this is a movie dealing with cancer, not so much a cancer movie, because we don't get into the minutia of like, hey, he's going every week for treatment. He's going every month for treatment. We know he's going on like a frequent basis to treatment and therapy and treatment and therapy. We see that progression. We can also see like they do a great job with Joseph Gordon Lovett. We're making him like he shaves his head and he starts looking more and more sick over time because that's what the treatments do to you, slowly killing your immune system and stuff like that. So like that, I think is a good way of telling us how that time is elapsing. But then again, but at the end, after his surgery, they do say like, oh, he's gonna need like therapy because we had to take away like part of his hip bone. We had to cut more than we thought was there. And I'm like,
I was saying, wait a minute here. No one's gonna be this healthy and walking around. I mean, give me like a year later.
Well, I mean, he grew some hair back, so it was obviously time.
All right.
Yeah, time must have. Right. Yeah, he did grow hair back, so I'm assuming months down the line.
Yeah. All right.
And you see the scar on his back is kind of pretty well healed.
Yeah, he's got to put the ointment on it.
Yeah.
Are you using your finger? Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
There's Q-tips over there.
Yeah, don't touch an open wound with your hands.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you guys saw the passage of time where they didn't need. You're saying that you don't think they needed to say a year later, 6 months later, 5 days later.
I mean, sometimes
do that. Some movies do that. I don't think we need it sometimes.
You don't really. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's like some movies use narration where I don't think we need narration. Like they'll be telling us like what's going on in the scene, and I'm like, we don't need this narration. Just show us you're showing us what's happening.
But like you said, the movie's about the experientialness of somebody that has cancer and needing to like have timelines and things. Is not really important, I think.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, if we're talking about scenes, like you said, like I already said, like that emotional scene in the middle is really the heavy stuff, I think. And Joseph Gordon Lovett really, I think, puts a lot into that. And, he's having a moment where he's already kind of made a connection with his therapist. He calls her, even though Seth Rogen thinks he's going to call his girlfriend. I guess in a way he's calling the girl he really likes and wishes was his girlfriend. But he has a moment with her, and that's the only person that he can talk to that isn't like so personally involved in his life. It's the most. I think that moment.
Yeah, that moment's very real.
That moment to me, and this will kind of encapsulate my feelings overall. Like, I really like this movie. This is good stuff for me. It's like bordering on. It could be obsessed one day. The thing is like, I think that like, because you've dealt with this personally, Andrew, I think that's where it really sends somebody like you over the top because there is a personal stake in it. I think in this particular scene though, I think anybody can relate to a moment where, you're in a situation, you're upset and you need to talk to somebody that isn't anybody that really knows you, like the therapist, like is getting to know him, but she doesn't know him and she doesn't have any judgments on him. She didn't really know him all around to know him, to have anything to say, like, ammunition to say something back at him, argue with him. She just listens and she tries to support him. And I think all of us have been in situations where we need a person like that. And you choose to call that person, or you choose to reach out for therapy, or that's something
I've used you for that. I've used you for that.
Yeah, Dan uses me for this. But the thing is I'm your friend, so that doesn't really count.
But you're not like, we've only met once, and you never.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't see you in your own environment, so it is a little bit of a distance. But I still think we've talked for over a decade, so it's
still
a little
counts.
bit more. Little it counts, but it doesn't. But I think that's where there is a very like a cross section of audience where everybody can feel a moment like that, where they're just like at the end of their rope,
right?
And like you're so emotionally exhausted, and you need to talk to somebody that is not involved, and that's the best way to help yourself, is to get that person's hopefully good advice. And
you have to even the context of that scenario of that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is in, is that like it's the night before a surgery, that could result in him dying, could result in him them finding out that the tumor is indeed inoperable, or could result in him, the cancer being having spread. You don't really know, and I think he shows that level of desperation, that level of just mental fatigue to the point of breaking very, very well in a very, very real way, which many people dealing with life-threatening things all the time, or with the looming prospect of death, have to deal with, and and they reach that point on a constant basis. The movie is, like I said, very, very real in all of its depiction and scenarios, and that's a good scene for me. The scene that's also very real, which is actually kind of right after this, is when he's being wheeled into the surgery and having to basically, being separated from his parents, and I think. We don't see Seth Rogen's character in that scene, but I think he's in the waiting room or something like that, or he's parking the car. But that's a very real scene too. That's an emotionally heavy scene that we really didn't touch on. But it's incredibly powerful, I think. And what is also interesting is we didn't talk about this at all. Is that his father dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's? They don't really get into it a lot, but we see it come up in every scene that he's in. And there's some also unspoken bond there of connection between parent and child that breaks through the dementia sometimes. And you can see it on the face of the actor portraying his father. It's really good acting from a small role that you may not notice. It's really, really good stuff. Especially when he tells his dad, I know you're not like all here right now, but I'm glad that you're here. That's a very powerful, powerful scene. Well-written movie. Really well written.
Well, it's obviously coming from personal experience, but it's also like when you write about the subject matter, you have to make it as humane as possible. You got to get into the nitty gritty of like emotion. You can't if you want to do it. I think if you want to do this, it's justice, the subject justice, you have to get very vulnerable with it and be willing to go to like kind of them like mushy places, them kind of sentimental places. You got to be willing to go there.
Yeah, and if it's, they call it saccharin or whatever, or even if you like, some people would say, oh, it's like, you're manipulating the audience, tear jerking and whatnot. But in this case,
it's real.
It's very real. Like, real. It's not manipulative. Like, it's genuine. And it's hard, it's hard to toe that line, you know?
I feel like it's the most real, or one of the most real, when it comes to dealing with something like this. This is kind of an illness,
I think
a cancer like this. I think it's one of the best films that have dealt with this type of illness or this type of ailment.
I think this and another one of Andrew's favorite movies, Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Yeah, which came out a couple years after. That's also very real. Now, that's more in my wheelhouse because it combines like the love of movies and cancer, which I guess is like me in a nutshell.
I love that movie. Oh, I love that movie.
I weep every time I think of the ending of that movie. It's just so powerful.
My thing is, if I had, I like the stuff with Seth Rogen. I mean, I love the buddy stuff, because that's the real heart of the movie, and to me, that's if that doesn't work, I think the whole movie doesn't work, and it works so well. That friendship between them two guys. And he's so real with him.
Their friendship got him through it. I mean,
so that stuff, whatever Seth Rogen and him are doing, I liked. That was what I was enjoying the most about the movie, their relationship.
Yeah. So. Well,
I'm with you, Steven. It's good stuff.
It's good stuff, and with an extra couple sprinkles of like, I really respect the movie a lot. I just can't get over the hump because it isn't something that I can personally connect with so much. Me too. At least at this point in my life, let's hope not. I don't want to have to. Nobody wants to have illnesses. But
dealt with a sick father. Now my buddy's, niece. So it's kind of in the periphery of my life, but not exactly, something I'm dealing with.
So I'm obviously on the obsessed level since, one of my favorite movies of like the last 20 years. So it's always been, I think it was even, remember on Cinema Discovery Project, we did our best or favorite movies of the 2010s. I think it was. I think I put this on there. It was in there somewhere. I want to say later on that top 10 list. But I've like I said, I've loved it ever since. I think it's still really, really good. Now, Jonathan Levine went on to do, like I said, The Night Of, which is a movie I watch every year.
That's a fun. That's one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Ironically, that movie's celebrating its 10th anniversary this year.
So I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it. Gotta watch it this year.
I have to remember to go back and watch that because I forgot. I can't believe that's 10 years old. Wow, that's crazy.
That is kind of great. I didn't think time.
But, I mean, the dark horse of that movie is Michael Shannon, obviously.
Oh yeah,
that's
the part I remember the most about it is Michael Shannon. But so I guess I'm up next, huh, Steven?
Well, I think Andrew had something else to say.
Oh,
no, I was just gonna say kind of like other Jonathan Levine works, like Warm Bodies. I've always really liked.
Warm Bodies is good. Yeah.
Kind of that. It's a zombie Romeo and Juliet movie with Nicholas Hoult. And yeah, that's kind of the way I would sell it to people. And yeah, that's kind of about it from my perspective. So obviously we have Dance Pick coming up. Feels like we just did Dance Pick, but I guess we're back again.
I know. For another one.
Boy, the time's going by so fast. I can't believe we wrapped it back around to me. And I've been thinking about this. I thought about what we kind of said, something that was said on the last time I was on, that I don't have a sense of humor, that I don't like a lot of
Here we go.
Well, you did Seth Rogen in this movie, so
I did like Seth Rogen. But something, I've talked about this in the past, how I'm a recovering alcoholic and stuff, and I've had what you would call many hangovers. And so I don't have my copy of The Hangover because I'm not home right now. I forgot to grab it and bring it to where I'm at. So I'm gonna talk about one of my favorite. I believe this is the funniest movie of the entire century up till this point.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't think there's a funnier movie than The Hangover, but it has some real meaning to me because of the drinking and the alcohol and the party and that sort of stuff that really kind of affected my life for a while there. So I'm gonna make these guys watch The Hangover.
Hey, I as long as it's the first one.
Yeah, we won't be talking about the other two. This ain't a Star Wars trilogy thing.
This isn't going to be one where we cover the franchise because we like all of it or we were invested in all of them. The first one, I think most of us are very invested in. The other two, they kind of blur because they're all very similar.
They just copied. It was just a cookie cup. Second one was a dead-on cookie cutter copy of the first one, which is like really.
Sometimes the thing is sometimes that can work for comedies. In this particular case, they fucked it up. So, let's not get into it. So next movies down memory lane, we are doing The Hangover. So, that's great. Thanks, Andrew, for bringing up 50-50. It's a good one. Can't wait to talk Hangover, and guess there's nothing else left to say, but watch movies.
Good pick, Andrew.
And hey, have a good trip down memory lane. I'll see you guys next time.